or follow the Constitution of Kenya. Like, if we were just to follow this manual and this blueprint, we would be very many steps ahead, even when it comes to curbing ourselves as citizens from the system that has been created to protect these politicians. But then let's just take a look at the system itself. Capitalism. We are participants to a system that does not promote the well-being of human beings. It promotes the well-being of those who are willing to push so that the best at the top get the most profit. So capitalism pushes for classicism. It creates classes, it creates upper class, middle class, and lower class people in the society, where the upper class use the lower class people to make the best out of themselves. Then the gap keeps becoming wider. So, what do the politicians do? They take advantage of this gap. They come and tell you, oh, I'm going to give you 22,000 shillings to start a business. What kind of a business are you going to start? You can sell eggs by the roadside. You can buy a bucket and start going around selling for people watermelons. You can. I got straight A's in school in all my subjects. Why would I settle for selling watermelons and pineapples to people? Like, seriously, did I go to school for all those years to come and be told to become a boda boda rider? Did I go to school for all those years to come and be told that I'm supposed to go work at Mjengo? It's not that we are demeaning these jobs, but this country has been known to innovate. Kenya is a country of very smart people. We innovated M-Pesa. We have been awarded. Like, there's this girl we went to the same high school with. She got the CNN Person of the Year. Like, we have to 40 under 40. Another girl I went to school with was Forbes to 40 under 40. Like, we are serious brainiacs. We're serious innovators. And that is why previous leaders, like Kibaki, for example, came up with a blueprint, Vision 2030, that was supposed to push for innovation, that was supposed to push a country that takes advantage of its youthful population. But what do we have right now? We have a system that is feeding politicians to understand that the more they impoverish Kenyans, the more they are able to be seen as demigods, the more they come out to look as saviors. Because if everybody is doing well, if everybody has their own job and they're creating their own income, then how else am I going to sell for you the fact that I am your savior and I am coming to get you out of your troubles? I mean, when our forefathers were fighting for freedom, they fought for freedom, for land, for freedom and for land. Today, we still have issues of land injustices. Then, after they took over the government, they were fighting poverty, they were fighting disease, and they were fighting ignorance. Today, we still have poor, very poor Kenyans. As a matter of fact, 46%, latest research shows that 46% of Kenyans are living below the poverty line. Kenya is ranked among top 10 of the poorest countries in the world. We're actually number 8. We have become a country that is pushing for ignorance. We have more than 1 million students out of school, courtesy of a system that marginalizes them. Yet the constitution is clear about marginalizing. It is pushing to, I don't know if there's a word like unmarginalize. It is pushing to unmarginalize young people, women, persons with disability, but then those in power have no goodwill to exercise the constitution. And let me remind us that without constitutionalism, the economy is a sham. And that is why we are facing all the troubles we're facing today. Because if we do not have a government that is working towards adhering to human rights, but they are violating human rights. Today, we have 81 people in northern Eastern Kenya who have been abducted just for saying that what Rigiji said is actually true. That these people are using the money that has been given to them to benefit themselves and not the communities. We are having like disease, guys. Cancer patients are dying daily. Like, how do we have a cancer patient being given share cover of 500,000 shillings, and the president and his people are bragging so much how they raise it. No, it's from 500,000 to 850,000. So they are bragging how they have raised their money. But if you have someone around you who has cancer, 850,000 will not even last 3 4 months. So we are still pushing a system that advances the agenda of the white man and does not focus on us as Black people, us as Africans. It does not take root of African positivity. We are taught how to not like our cultures. We're taught not to like our food. We're taught not to like our skin colors. We're taught not to like even our native education systems. We're taught not to like our native language. As a matter of fact, they have learned how to use our native language as a way of dividing us. This is a system that is choosing to push the agenda of some people. And mark you, me, I'm telling you, these people think Kenya is run like a monarch. So they want their children to become our saviors. George Ruto is being positioned to the extent he's being sent to a church to go and deliver a lorry that is worth 7 million to a church. Who do you think George Ruto, when those people in that church see George Ruto, who do they see? They see William Samoei Ruto. They see the president came to their church and gave them a canter. So they're very happy. So what is our problem here as Kenyans? We have to sit down and take a look at ourselves. Tunapewa 22,000. KRA sahi wamesema hauwezi file nil returns. So umepewa 22,000 ufungue biz. Next year utafile nil returns. Unadhani hawako rada yako? Wako rada yako? Utafile aje nil returns? New 22,000. If there was any form of goodwill or beds, it would have come like if you open a new business in Kenya, you get a tax break of two years. Look at a country like a county like Moranga. Right now, I've seen something like at Moranga, they are recruiting young people of Moranga County. You're given a short contract of 3 months for cleaning up Moranga. If you're done, then you're taken to do a short course. After the short course, they give you 15,000 shillings. You go open a business. And once you open the business, you get a tax, like hautalipa license, iyo mwaka. Huyo mtu amekufanya nini? Amekuempower. Lakini according to this government, nini kupatia 22,000 shillings, uende like unafaa sasa kuanza kupraise. Okay, hii pesa yenye anapeana, anatumia how much money kuzunguka kupeana hiyo pesa? Kindiki anatumia 1 million for air travel every single day. Like, if we take a look at, as a good business person, you're either supposed to reduce your expenditure or increase your sales. Mali tumefika kama Kenya, we can't increase our sales. Like, that just means taxing ourselves more. So what is the other alternative that this government has? Is to reduce their expenditure. But they're not willing to do that. So they are constantly creating a system that is working against us, the citizens. But now the question becomes, what happens the day the citizens wake up and their eyes are opened and they realize, hiya, we have been feeding certain families. We've been feeding certain people. People have monopolized industries to benefit themselves. What about us? Then there will be an uprising. And that is what happened in 2024. And that I can bet you the uprising is what will happen in 2026. And I have this belief that the next finance bill will be such a crazy finance bill that every single Kenyan will wake up and say no to this regime because it's becoming too much now. Like, they don't have something that they're giving us to work with. Mtu anaweza sema kwa nini hamkuwa mnaona za the previous governments. Probably it's because they were giving you something to work with. Ungezaa for free through Linda Mama. Like NHIF was working, some things were moving, so probably that is why they kept us blinded for so long. But now absolutely nothing is working, so the uprising is here, and it is for us, the youth, because we are the ones who are facing the impact of this. We're the ones who are today's parents. We're the ones who are paying school fees. We're the ones who are seeing our bigger brothers and sisters, the millennials, not being able to afford to take the children to secondary school, something we just used to go for. Like, ulikuwa unaitwa uni na job. Things used to work in this country. Tul- my god, tulikuwa tunatuma barua na inafikia mtu. Things used to work. Right now, I don't see anything that is working, and it's bad. And if we let this to continue to happen, then the ones who are going to bear the biggest price is our children, unfortunately. Not us. Us, we got the benefits of that education. Tulienda shule, tumesoma. Our children are the ones who will be literate. Our children are the ones who live in a dirty country. Our children are the ones who won't be able to access medical care. Our children are the ones who are going to bear the biggest burden of the mistakes that are being made today, Eli.
Our children will bear the bigger brand of all the mistakes that are happening. And I see Obed's hand is up. Obed, kindly proceed. Obed? All right. I guess Obed was just, waving to agree with you. I hear you, Sophie, and you outline all the issues we need to be discussing as a people. You outline all the realities that the young generation in Kenya is facing tonight. And that means a lot of us resonate with the things you're saying. The bigger picture to all of this is how then do we change these narratives? I know we've had situations whereby we are told the young people should actually go out there and vie and become these leaders we so badly desire to have. I know there are scenarios whereby the same young people, as Obed earlier on said, have had the opportunity to make the change, but when they approach the table of conversation, they actually thought about their hunger, which is true. You cannot talk to a starving man with a bread or breadcrumbs around you and expect them not to want to eat or at least have some crumbs. How do we balance the issue of active citizenship, Sophie, the youth agenda that we all want to achieve, and last but not least, great leadership that will see us deal with all these problems you've tried to prescribe to us?
You see, this is the sad truth, and this is what we need to admit, that change doesn't happen overnight. We won't wake up and we have a different country overnight, because the resolve is not the same for all of us.
Yeah.
So the question will be, are we willing to start small?
Yeah.
Are we willing to first sit down and address our problems? Problems like, when you finish with a paper, don't throw it outside of the window of the matatu. The same dirt you're throwing outside of the window of the matatu is the same one that is making our streets to flood, and we're the ones who will still bear the burden of that bad habit.
Yeah.
So, first of all, as Kenyans, we need to sit with ourselves and ask ourselves, what is our contribution to where we are at today? Because I want to vie, Eli. And I think I told you this story, and it made me, like, it broke my heart. It made me ask myself if I'm really willing to go into this political uh, thing, because
Yeah.
unaenda unaongea na watu and then they tell you kwa Kikuyu wanaitanga goshinakini, like unatuachia
Unatuachia
kitu,
nini?
unatuchoma, unafanya nini, okay, mi nakuja nakwambia uishe, my god, tumekuwa na sitting ya 20 people, munataka nipatie kila mtu 500 shillings, na saa hizo nimewabaia chai, nimebai tumandazi, snacks, chai na snacks ilinicost around 5000.
Oh, wait.
Then nikakuja
Ulinunua. In short, ulibidi ununue. What are you saying, Sophie?
nilinunua,
Oh, by the way,
kwanza ni chai, like chai ya ukweli.
sorry to interrupt you. We had some problem streaming our signal onto our X platform that is on Mizani 254. However, you can be able to watch this through the Court FM YouTube channel. That is Court FM KE Digital. So sorry for the interruption. I was reminded to state that and proceed. That is Sophie.
So I mean, I bought the tea and the mandazis. They cost me like around 5 Gs. And then now, when the meeting is over, everybody is not going. They're seated there. So the person who organized the meeting for me is telling me, lazima upatie watu kwa kitu kadogo. So I'm telling him, okay, if I do 200 shillings per person, that will be another 4,000. So me, in my head, my budget was 10,000. Then it's like, no, 200 shillings is too little. Uwezi itabidi umewapea 500. My god, unajua mi nilikuwa in shock. Like nilikuwa like, mko serious guys? We are talking about our area, our ward, the problems that are affecting us, but you still want me to give you money? Mko serious? Natoa wapi hiyo pesa? Take a good look at me. I'm a young person. They're like, no, we can't. Mimi ni mtu wa boda. The 2 hours yenye nimekaa hapa ningekuwa nimemake hiyo 500. Kwa hivyo you have to compensate me for my time. So we have certain bad characteristics as Kenyans that, number one, have to be addressed. If change has to happen, it first has to start at an individual standpoint. Tuache kutupa takataka, tuache kubribe polisi, tuache kuitisha wanasiasa na watu wenye wanavai pesa. That will be the beginning of our change. Secondly, we have said that young people to take themselves out and say, okay, tunajitolea to take these leadership positions. Yes, we come out and those, now it is for those young people who are coming out, number one, to understand that hii si kitu ya kukutoa block. You're not coming to become an MCA or an MP utoke block. You're coming here to serve your generation. You're coming here to serve the generations that come after you. So you need to understand that certain things that you will put that will impact generations forever. For instance, I will go again to Murang'a County. What Murang'a County is doing will impact generations years and years and years to come. So as young people, we then go into these leadership positions knowing that it is up to us to be the change that we need to see. So tusiende hapo niyo mentality ati tunataka kuomoka. Number 3 would be to stay informed. Informed how? Number 1, learn, read about your history. Read the constitution. How do you, like, I have a constitution, I think everywhere. I have a constitution in my bag all the time. I have a constitution in the office. I read this material so that I'm able to understand what is my mandate as an MCA. What am I going to do to the people? Nisiende kuambia na wa promise bursaries na saizo hata sinanga fund ya bursaries. Siendi hapo kuambia watu na wa promise mabarabara hapa, and it is not within my mandate to do that. My mandate as an MCA is to legislate, to oversight the governor. Ndio huyo governor alete hiyo barabara Thika Township Ward. Kazi yangu ni kumsukuma, kazi yangu ni kuparticipate in the budget making process of Kiambu County so that Thika Township Ward is considered when the budget of Kiambu County is being placed. And then once things are budgeted for in my ward, then it is to oversight the governor to ensure that everything that was budgeted for Thika Township Ward imewekwa hapo. So it is to stay informed on your mandate, to also stay informed on the legislations that are being done by this government. Because every day, every night, kuko na a new bill, kuko na something new this government is using to mutilate the constitution so that they come for us, they come for our children. Hii Nyota Fund, hii 22,000 yenye watu wanasherekea, do people know first of all that it was supposed to be 50,000? Hiyo pesa ingine ajui imeenda wapi? Number 2, do people know it is a loan that in 2029 we are the ones who will start paying? So whether Ruto will be president or not, he took a loan with our name on it. So we are the ones who are gonna pay for it. Do we? So when I say we start small, we might not, at the rate at which we are going, it might be difficult to fagia wote. But if we can push to have as many young progressive voices in these positions, then we can show the people of Kenya higher. Thika Township Ward has changed because we had a youthful leader for once. Baringo, for example, might have changed if they chose our friend who was also a Gen Z. If we show people that youthful leadership can change the country, then probably in 2032, we might even have a very fast youthful president in Kenya. Countries like Senegal, countries like Burkina Faso, they have very young people in leadership positions. We have a country like Namibia that needs to be studied because it has very many women in leadership. And now Namibia, the woman president in Namibia has promised jobs to the young people, 500,000 jobs in Namibia. University education is very free. So we have show that young, youthful leadership and women in leadership can change a country. But we also have show of if we choose a bad woman in leadership, then we can have a situation like Tanzania. So we need to evaluate who we are putting in these positions. And it is also to hold those who are mandated to act on behalf of the citizens. Independent commissions, according to the constitution, are supposed to be made of civilians. It is civilian oversight of the government, of the legislature, of the executive. It is civilian oversight. So as the civilians, we need to hold those independent commissions into account. For instance, we need to start having conversations about how we are going to occupy IPOA, because IPOA is letting us down. Young people, every like police brutality does not know age in this country. What is IPOA doing about that? Yet it is their mandate to oversight the police on behalf of the citizens. So we need to have conversation about how we are going to occupy ABC to tell them that, hey, the next time we have another Wamudende on the ballot, it shall be a problem. We need to start having conversations about how we are going to hold Treasury to account. Why is Treasury allocating more money to the defense docket and less money to the health docket? Why is defense being given 460 something billion and health across, like primary health, universal healthcare, healthcare wazee yote inapewa 138 billion? Is that
But
fair?
don't you think,
Like,
Sophie, if defense is receiving this amount of money, it's because of the current reality when it comes to security or insecurity across the globe? There have been, issues, for example, from the global north. America has been having a lot of not so flattering relationships with its peers, and probably that's why defense gets this amount of money. I don't know. I'm just thinking aloud.
no, okay, let's talk. We have the issue that is currently happening in northeastern of Kenya right now. We're having young, like bandits. Like for the past week, kumekuwa na bandit attacks in northeastern Marsabit, Moyale, Mandera. We have Jubaland forces taking over counties in this country. So your pesa, your defense, what is it doing to protect the citizens of Kenya from even external harm? Zero. We have a teacher in uko northeastern aliuliwa na bandits, and apparently that was not the first attack. Hiyo pesa inaenda wapi? Kununulia polisi pikipiki na magari na tear gas na bullets za kushutu watu na za kupeleka Sudan? No, it is up to us the citizens to wake up and say, hey, wake up. This is your country. Nobody is going to come from Uko outside to come and fight for us. We also need to understand that there are several characters even within the civilian the civilian space that benefit from continuation of the struggle. So you need to understand that there are other people who have been given a role for the struggle to continue, so that wao waendelee kukua mboka. Amkeni wa Kenya, wake up. Nobody is going to come and fight for you. It's for you to fight for yourself. And as you're fighting for yourself, you're fighting for the country overall. So each of us has somewhere to start. It starts within. Ukikula kitu utupi takataka chini, unaweka hiyo kitu kwa gari yako, unangoja upate dustbin, utupe kitu kwa dustbin. Ianze hapo, then ikuje to holding people to account, ikuje to insisting that the constitution must be followed, ikuje to looking at other countries who have done it before, who have changed and moved, like radically changed their nation. Recently, the past 3 days, we've been seeing how China and South Korea is what they're doing to their corrupt leaders. Huku kazi ya Ruto tu ni kusema venye nimeona sana, najua mko corrupt, hata mnanitisha pesa na hakuna kitu wanafanya ku hold anybody to account. Namibia, I've given an example of Namibia. That lady, when her defense minister kulikuwa tuna hata hakuwa ameconfirm kama alikuwa corrupt ama hakuwa corrupt, hivyo ndio alitolewa kazi. Like zero tolerance from corruption to corruption from the top. Like Kenya kazi yetu tu ni kuongea, but we do not put to account what has been said. For example, NEMA had burnt hizi karatasi za nylon.
The polythene
Sahi
bags.
hakuna mali, hakuna karatasi za nylon. Yes, polythene bags in Kenya, they're back as if there was no, like, they're back. Why?
Are they
Because
degradable?
Kenya,
Because
our
they could be there,
stop
but they are degradable. But I want to continue that
degradable.
conversation, Sophie. If you can hear me, Sophie, I
I can
feel
hear
where
you.
you're coming from, and I know the frustration. It's quite a lot, and that is the reality of all of us who are here tonight, trying to understand how then do we forge ahead as the Kenyan youth. What should be our collective agenda? What do we do to change the current status quo so that come tomorrow, our children will not be seated here again discussing in the bigger picture how we have mismanaged our country?
Well,
I
starts
want to
with the
come back to you. Just
obvious.
hold on a little bit longer,
Okay.
Sophie. I know there are people who probably will be having questions. Allow me to also invite them who are listening in. And if you're also watching this stream, you can also comment in the chat section so that we can pick your questions later on. Obeds, I see your hand is up. If you don't mind, I'm going to cross over to you and give you the mic. Obeds.
So, I've listened to Sophie, and what he's talking to and speaking to is really a frustration amongst the young people, and it's obvious that there's a dire need for other than jobs, leadership, and the young people going out there to demand for what is rightfully theirs. However, is that space available? Do they have to fight for it? Then, which is the way forward for the young people? Because they can sit and lament all day. We can talk about these conversations, but then what are the practical steps that we are, using or applying to ensure that come 2027, 2032, we are able to push the agenda, have as many young people on board, and be able to see a difference? Because young people are many in numbers. Our population has a very young people, very many young people. If they come together, they can make a difference. But then how do we do that to ensure that all the youth are on board? Because other than complaining, what else is being done? Because that's how it sounds like. And the politicians are happy when young people talk and they don't act. 25th of June 2024 was proof that if people unite, they can make a difference. How can you go back? How can the young people and Kenyans go back to that moment and make that difference and be able to push and really look for change? Because people are struggling, they're poor. So if government gives you 30,000, you'll be happy to take the money. So what are the practical steps to dissuade the young people from falling for the immediate gain and look at the long-term gains?
Thank you very much, Obeds. You are asking about the practical gains that the young people need to rethink and actually bring on board. And our guest for the night is Sophie Mugure Njehia. She refers to herself with some preference, Mugure Njehia. And she's also one of those human rights defender who has been on the streets for the past few weeks. I don't know why. I almost asked her, kwani pesa bado zinatoka America? Nikakumbuka yeye alianza kupigana kama pesa zimetolewa. So definitely she does not fall in that category. We also know her to be vying for the Thika Township MCA, that is a member of County Assembly. But tonight, specifically, we are discussing matters of the young people. And Obeds, I know you have asked the question about the young people, looking at the example of the 25th of June. And probably, Sophie, you noted them down. I will give you an opportunity to respond to that. If we have any other questions, we'd love to take them right now. So kindly send them in order for us to be able to respond to it. This is a politician language. Sad. That is Jamii Kwanza Youth Organization. I don't know why they don't think you should speak not in political language, because these are political issues. Probably we'll find out if we should be having some kumbaya moment, Sophie. And I appreciate that statement either way. I also want to, as you try to respond to that question, Sophie, maybe you can note this down. You've talked about actionizing the issues we are raising. You've talked about holding people to account. Sophie, in I'm just looking here at some data, and it's frustrating to actually read out the numbers. They are very frustrating. Allow me. Shell lost 11 billion, and that is to fraud between October 2024 rather, and 2025 April. Okay? We also know 300 billion shillings was raised through bonds between 2017 and 2023. As we speak to date, nobody can trace that money. Now, the Auditor General has pointed over 9.6 billion that is questionable transaction on the e-citizen platform. Again, the Auditor General cannot access records on the financing scheme. That is 19.6 billion meant for lending to prospective homeowners. Now, as if this is not enough, we have the recent cases of school capitation, to name just but a few. In the current context, if we were to address the issue of corruption and the disappearance of our money, or should I say, the stealing of public finances, what more should the Auditor General do? Because I see the Auditor General do their job or her job, and then I will see the Senate Public Finance Committee sit down to lecture us and look like they are doing some theatrics on accountability. But that's how the fire fizzles. Sophie, where is the problem and what is the solution? As you also respond to the question raised by Obeds. The mic is yours, Sophie, if you may kindly proceed.
Thank you so much for those questions so far. First of all, the person who has criticized me for speaking in a political language. I mean, what other language are we supposed to speak about when we're talking about political issues? We're supposed to talk political. And it is about time that Kenyan young people start resonating with political language. They need to start understanding and internalizing what it means to talk politics, because that politics that you are avoiding to talk, that civilization that you want to keep, is what they want. They want us not to talk like politicians. They want us not to understand the political game so that they can keep taking advantage of us. It's a mind game. The moment you start getting into their space and you start understanding the game, I mean, you're told to who are you supposed to hate, the game or the player?
You hate
Who's
the game, I guess so. Don't hate whichever works.
But you get, like, this is a space that is not familiar territory to many of us. So we need to start being deliberate about familiarizing ourselves, either even with political jargons, and just how to articulate issues from a political perspective. Obet has asked, how then do we move forward? And you've also asked about accountability and what that means for us. Number one, Let me start with your question, Eli, then I go to Obert so that it's problem to solution kind of a response. Number one, the Constitution in Part 7, Article 229, it talks about the role of the Auditor General. The Auditor General does so many things, except the one serious thing that can push Kenyans to open their eyes. That thing is they are supposed to audit the public debt. Article 229, Clause G. The Auditor General is mandated to audit the public debt. They audit every other thing except the public debt. But why are we in the mess that we're in today as Kenyans, even before we talk about how corrupt this government is? This government this government came in 2012, 2013. They have mastered how to manipulate the constitution to steal from Kenyans, and that is through debt. Number one, let us look at our funds. We have same public finance. The chapter on public finance is a very good chapter, and I think very many Kenyans should familiarize themselves with the public finance. Chapter 12, it talks about something like the equalization fund. Equalization fund, we are money, 1.5% of all the revenue collected by the national government should go into this fund. What is the role of this fund? It is to provide basic services to marginalized areas to the extent necessary so as to bring quality of those services in those areas to the level generally enjoyed by the rest of the nation. Have you seen the amount of money that has been given in the equalization fund up until date? It is in trillions. 1 point something trillion. Look at the areas that are being given the equalization fund. Do they reflect trillions worth of investment in that area? Question mark. Second thing, there's also another fund here that is called the contingencies fund. Now, this fund is what this government is using, like they have used to steal from Kenyans from back in the days. It says there shall be established a contingencies fund that operates in accordance with an act of parliament. An act of parliament shall provide advances from the contingencies fund if the cabinet secretary responsible for finance is satisfied that there is an urgent and unforeseen need for that expenditure. These people have realized through parliament and through the executive, through the CS, they can remove money from this contingency fund without any of us knowing where that money goes to. Let me take you back to 2014 when Aden Duale, the current CS of Health, introduced a public finance management amendment to that act that says any money that is borrowed on behalf of Kenyans can go, it doesn't have to go to the consolidated fund alone, it can go to a separate fund that has been established to, like, waeke hiyo pesa kwa hiyo fund, still lazima iende kwa consolidated fund. But does the auditor general have capacity to audit those other funds that have been established through this amendment of the Public Finance Management Act? Question. That is our homework. Number two, Aden Duale also said that wanafaa kukuwa wanalipa supplier directly. Pesa ikiingia hata haiendi mahali popote, inaenda direct kwa supplier. So wametuibia for so long using debt, using this same constitution, manipulating it to the extent that what is public debt? Let us define public debt according to the constitution. Public debt is a charge on the consolidated fund, but an act of parliament may provide for charging all or part of the public debt to other public funds. So Aden Duale brought in something that establishes other public funds, including this new thing wanaita infrastructure fund and sovereign wealth fund, kuna road maintenance levy fund. Like, these people are using funds. NSSF is a fund. So public debt can be charged on these funds on your behalf. So they have mastered the art to steal from us using this public finance chapter So they're taking advantage of the fact that sisi kama wa Kenya, first of all, we don't even know the status of our debt. Kwa nini wamekuwa tu wakikopa? Mnasikia World Bank imetupatia 27 billion ya kupeleka watoto grade 10. Mnasikia World Bank imekuja imetupatia pesa ya kuzungusha huku Nyota Fund. Lakini Auditor General is doing everything except auditing of the public debt. Lakini I ask myself, hata kama ni mimi na mimi ndio Auditor General, would I have the guts to audit public debt? Because I know if I audit public debt, I am exposing the level of corruption in this country. Am I willing to bear that burden by myself? Ati nita audit kitu isemekane mimi ndio nili expose kila kitu? Inakuwa ngumu kidogo. So Auditor General kuna mahali anatuangusha. Kuko na mtu mwingine anaitwa Solicitor General. What is the role of that office? Huyo mtu anajiita Solicitor General. Kazi yake ni gani? In fact, according to Google, Solicitor General in Kenya is the accounting officer and the chief assistant to the Attorney General. What is the work of the Attorney General? The Attorney General is the legal advisor. Yeye ndio lawyer, yeye ndio legal advisor wa gava. Attorney General anatuangusha, Solicitor General anatuangusha, Auditor General anatuangusha. Sisi kama Wakenya tumeachwa na nani? Sisi wenyewe. So wakiendelea kutuibia pesa na SHA, wakiendelea kutuibia pesa na NSSF, wakichukua pesa yako wanakutax. Wanaenda wanajenga nyumba kwa shamba ya serikali. Alafu wanaenda wanakopa pesa tena kwa World Bank na hiyo project bado, na wewe umetulia tu umefold hands zako hivi. Mbona wasiendelee kutuibia? So we citizens, we are the problem. Before we start blaming the Auditor General, first tunajiblame kwa nini hatuja hold your Auditor General to account. Tujiblame kwa nini tumekaa exchequer, Solicitor General anakula pesa ya serikali yetu na hakuna kazi yenye anatufanyia yenye tunaona hivi. So tumeibiwa for so long because we are ignorant, because nobody wants to take time to understand how their country should be governed. But if you do not have an understanding, then that is how they're stealing from us. So to answer Obed's question, how then do we move from a problem statement to a solution-oriented approach? Number one, it is for us to have a resolve that you cannot kill us and lead us. So we should not allow the general population to forget that this regime is murderous.
Yeah.
That your president ordered young people to be shot in their legs. Your president even ordered for terrorism charges to be put on those of you wenye mutahepa kushutiwa mukishikwa hivi. Do not forget that your president has gone to the extent of manipulating the legislature, to the extent they want to stifle our power to associate, our power, our freedom to assemble, our freedom to express ourselves, and even to the extent they are stifling our right to privacy. They monitor every single little thing that we do. When Mulinge was arrested, they told Mulinge even the last M-Pesa transaction yenye alituma. They told him the last phone call that he made. It just goes to show we are under 24 hours surveillance. So it is upon us to remind the citizens that, hey, their families up until today, since June 2024, have never seen their kin. Why? Githurai massacre. People were killed and people were cremated. You will never find your kin. They are gone and gone for good. So even when they come to us and start having conversations about how they want to compensate us, how will you compensate that person who's never seen their kin since 2024? Exactly how? Are you planning to compensate that person? Will you AI generate someone new for them? Or what is... So it is for us, our resolve to be clear. The only reason why other people were able to liberate this country is because their resolve was clear that it is either your life or things change. Until the point we get to the fact that we are able to decide to lose our lives for the well-being of this nation, it is the point we will be able to start moving towards change. So that Kama ni kuprotest, hatutaogopa kutokea kwa barabara. Wakisema watatuua, ni sawa. It is to the point that you're willing to lose your miserable life because as a Kenyan, your life today is very miserable. That is the only thing you have to lose. There's nothing else you have to lose. That resolve has to be in the depth of each and every one of us, that it is our life or our country. Our love for our country has to be so strong that whatever it is that we do reflects our patriotism and reflects our love for our country, and not only for our country but for each other. Because the way Kenya has become today, it is for as long as mi niko sawa, kila mtu mwingine haijalishi. And that is then where we talk about committing class suicide. Homework. Go and read Amilcar Cabral's notion on class suicide. He says that those at the top and those at the bottom have to come to a resolve to work together to change the country. So it is mandated upon those in the upper class to start relating with the struggles of those in the lower class, so that now when they come together, something will change. So then, what solution are we providing? KOTU is a trade union in Kenya. Inasaidia nani? Wewe unakatwa pesa ya housing levy na ya SHA, na ndio unaamkia asubuhi headline 11 billion imepotea. Your CS badala ya kuresign anaringa anasema hii 11 billion haijapotea, in fact ilikuwa ipotee, ni sisi flag. So ndio maana mko na hii information. Yet ukienda kwa website ya SHA hawezi trace your data, wamerap your data, so we can't even be able to say what he's saying is true or what he's saying is false. If we can establish as young people, for starters, our own trade union, kwa sababu sisi ndio tumeingia job market recently, tuamke tuseme tunajitengenezea trade union yetu, we register it, we use that trade union to politically educate each other, things will change. Sisi kama wenye tunataka kuvie for these positions, let us for once see ourselves having value-based campaigns, kuliko kuzunguka kwenda kuambia watu 1 term na 2 term. Si uorganizie watu wa community yako financial literacy training, uwaite useme today mimi kama MCA wa Thika Township Ward nitafute sponsors 2-3, walimu 2-3, ni higher ground na ni higher sound system, na nilete mayouth pamoja, niwaambie nao ninaelewa shida yetu ni do. Sinyi mnaenda kukuimba tutamjuu mnataka do, kamini sasa tujifunze venye tutatengeneza hii pesa. Ita competitions, enda utafute voter registration ya Huduma Center. I want you to go and see what Lulu Hassan is doing in the coast. Anaita Huduma Center, ana host event, watu wana register. Let us have value based campaign, something that is adding value to our communities, so that those people won't ask for money from us. Nikikuitia content creator akuja kufundisha how to monetize TikTok, how to monetize Instagram and Facebook for yourself. After your meeting, no melan kumake do, utanitisha do. Autanitisha do. So solutions need to come from us as the citizens. Obeds. It is not a matter of complaining alone. It is a matter of being the solution, being the change that we want to see. And kama naweza sema hii ile, mi natafuta watu wa kunisponsor kupeleka value based campaigns in Thika. Kama wewe ni mwalimu, unaweza funza watu agriculture, unaweza funza watu content creation, unaweza funza wa mama table banking and how to invest. Let's link up, tuone venye tutapeleka hiyo education Thika Township Ward, ndio mayouth wangu wa Thika wakuwe empowered mentally, because hakuna venye tutagrow if we don't start with our minds.
You say it starts with the mind, and quite intensive there. And I have questions that are coming in, and I'm afraid we must be able to come to a close of this session, but that does not mean the conversation is coming to an end. Sophie Njehia, also known as Njehia Mugure, is with us tonight, speaking on issues that are touching on the youth agenda. That is the Kenya Youth Agenda. And she's also the Secretary General for the Revolutionary Gen Z Movement. I don't know what revolution they have made or if they are planning to make a revolution. That is something she might be able to define later on as we try to close this session. But in the meantime, let me go to the quick questions that are coming in, Sophie. I have a question by analyst Stella who's asked, good point, Sophie, but I'm concerned about the aftermath of exposing. What next after Auditor General audits debt? What have we done with the disclosures that she made so far? The 300 billion that cannot be traced is part of debt. What have we done with that piece of information? That is a question to you, Sophie. Sitati Vasilwa is asking, a quick one for you, Miss Mugure, as I go to rest. I guess he's penned off. Winning elections is about numbers. No doubt the majority of voters in 2027 will be youthful. Can the disillusioned, average, financially broke Kenyan youth be dependent on to send Kasongo home? June 25th, 2024 was a good indicator of how the youth can be the supreme voice, but has the momentum fizzled? That is a question. And mind over matter is saying, drain the swamp. Maybe those two questions, and probably will cycle back to my friend and co-host Obeds as we try to, come to a conclusion. The mic is yours once again, Sophie.
Okay. The aftermath of these exposés. There are two things. There are the institutions that are mandated now to do what comes next. EACC, there is DCI, there is ODPP. That people are supposed to be prosecuted. The president, if he had any level of goodwill, since atokelezea aseme the way his parliament is corrupt, we should be seeing some people suffering the consequences of that corruption. Number three would be what has been done before. For example, Ferdinand Waititu aliibia county government of Kiambu close to 500,000,000 shillings. Then he was taken to court and he was released with a fine of 53 million. Like, does that even make sense? Like, first of all, we need to establish serious consequences for any corrupt person. So it should go to the extent of, if you're corrupt, you'll be hung. That's the, like, it needs to be serious, dire consequences. Someone like Adendwale should not be even CS today, should have resigned today. But now, since we know all these people who are supposed to be citizen and civilian oversights are failing us, then the buck then stops with us as the citizens. Because this same constitution says all sovereign power belongs to the people, and the people can exercise that power directly or indirectly through their elected representatives. So now, since our elected representatives have failed us, it is now time to start having the conversation on how to exercise our power directly. Directly, to the extent that once this debt is exposed to that level extent, me, I've said time and again, I like the conversation that Jimmy Wanjigi is bringing to the table. Odious debt, hatulipi. This same, hey, kwanza wacha nisome before nisahau, kwanza hii ni important. To Article 226, Clause 5. If the holder of a public office, including a political office, directs or approves the law or instructions, the person is liable for any loss arising from that use and shall make good that loss, whether the person remains the holder of the office or not. So mtu kama Ferdinand Waititu anafaa kwanza kukuwa amerudisha hiyo pesa kwanza. Wale watu wote wenye wamechukua hiyo pesa, nani alikuwa kwa ofisi hiyo time? Public finance management, public finance chapter imesema medium and long term debt should be backed by development. Hakuna development hii pesa imefanya. Wewe ndio ulichukua hii loan, wewe ndio ulisign, Uhuru ndio alisign, Ruto ndio alisign, whoever was treasury CS at that time ndio alisign. Yeye ndio anafaa kukuwa liable kutoa pesa ya Wakenya mahali imeenda, na tunafaa kuacha kulipa hiyo deni. May I support that very much. It needs to get to the extent where we need to have conversations of, If our elected representatives are not representing us, then does that mean we shall occupy parliament and occupy state house? Those should be conversations we need to start having. How do we exercise our power directly as the people? Because seemingly the people we have mandated to exercise power on our behalf, they're not doing that for us. So, a consequence of these exposes should be an agitation of the masses to the point this country should, at this particular point, we are up, yani tushapitisha debt ceiling yenye ilikuwa ishapandishwa. Sasa tuko 12 trillion. Hiyo debt ceiling ilishapani. We should make this country ungovernable. Tunaamka tunasema hatulipi taxes, kwanza muaccount zile pesa zenye tumelipia. Like, the conversation should be very dire. They should be very serious consequences to mismanagement of public finances. Then to the question by Sitati, winning is about numbers. So how do we get the numbers? The election question is about our economic freedom. So then, how do we get the youth, instead of voting against somebody, because last election we were voting against Uhuru and against the fact that alifanya handshake and against probably mzee mganga mwenye watu walikuwa anamuita mganga, we were voting against them, and that is why we voted in Ruto. We did not vote Ruto because he was a good choice. We voted in Ruto knowing he was an ICC suspect. He's a murderer. He's corrupt. We knew all those things. It is not news to us. We knew. But the mistake that we did is we were voting against somebody and not for something. So right now, then, those of us who want these leadership positions should show the young people that they are voting for something. What are you voting for? You're voting for your own economic freedom, your own economic liberation. You're voting for your future. You are voting for the future of your children. You are voting for free education, free health. We are voting for something. So to bring the numbers together, someone can say, oh, mbona kulikuwa na by-elections and there were not so many young people, because there was nothing for them on the table. There was nothing for the young people in that by-election for Mbere North and Malava. It was a contest between Ruto and Gashagwa, and that is why the young people did not show up. The little that had already registered in that time, that is why they did not show up. So this time round, it is a challenge to everybody who is, now it is Ruto versus everybody else. So everybody else who is against the government of William Arap Samoei Ruto should come up with something for the voter to vote for. Offer your alternative agenda. Now, moving forward, we need to stop talking about what Ruto has and has not done and start talking more about what mimi kama Sophie nitafanya nikichaguliwa. We need to start portraying and showing an alternative. It is up to me as Sophie, an aspirant for the MCA Thika Township Ward, to be in Thika helping the people of Thika try and solve 1-2 issues. Right now, advocate for them, shout, use my platforms to solve the problems of the people of Thika, so that I'm showing them that if they vote for me, this is how my leadership will be. So once then we show the young people that there is something to actually vote for, then it is to ensure that these elections are free and fair, because that is another challenge. Kenyans are not convinced, especially young people, that elections are free and fair. So then it is to push for election reforms. It is to push for police reforms so that the police are not used to stifle young people from coming out to vote, coming out to gather, coming out to have conversations about their future. It is to ensure that the election is free and fair. Then again, we will have more young people coming in to register. But then lastly, it's to say that young people, we are last minute people. Like, we are Kenyans, we are just known to be last minute people. So, most probably, even as we approach election time and the conversation starts moving towards now elections and not more so about every other thing that we have been having a conversation about, then we will see more young people taking up their positions and registering and being willing to participate in the electoral process.
Interesting takes there by you, Sophie. And What a interesting take in terms of the revolutions that we must take in order to bring change at the ballot. A lot of issues, of course, I still hold what I said reservations on when it comes to maandamano. And but you go ahead and mention the issue of we cannot just be speaking about Kasongo must go or this and that person must go. We should be able to give alternatives in the leadership we are seeking to provide. And that for me it's very important because then we cannot set agendas without having any. You remember one of the biggest questions that was coming during the 2024 June Mandamano period was the issue of then what next? And every other person that asked that question was almost stoned or pelted at kama mbwa. I remember my colleague and I, that is Obeds, we wanted to ask that question on different platforms and several occasions, but we seemed like the dark ones in the room. And now today, that is the question that everybody is asking. Yes, we want this and that to be dealt with. What are you bringing to the table, on the table? Our guest for the night, that is Njehia Mugure, and she is the Secretary General, the Revolutionary Gen Z Movement. She's given her piece in terms of what she believes needs to be addressed when it comes to the youth agenda. You might be having your questions, you might be having your reservations, of course, on her submissions. We welcome you to share them with us. The comment section remains open, and to that effect, we'd love to actually progress and request. Let's have some great and quick feedback from my co-host, Obeds, who is joining us from the other end of the line. Obeds, the mic is yours. If you may, kindly proceed.
So maybe I'd have to read some of the comments. Is it questions? Just hold on, let me see. I see Stella.
We might
has
have
some
already
point
answered that one, Obeds.
already taken care of that.
Yes, we looked at the comments.
Not
Yeah.
that I was sleeping in class. Maybe there was a quote. But generally speaking, just for me, maybe from what I've picked, there's a desire, but actually there's a lot to be done before that reality or dream becomes true. There are many young people who are disillusioned, and a hungry stomach and a hungry person has no time for politics, and the understanding of politics is very different. I would rather eat than do politics. However, you also realize if you're following what's going on, there's a massive, registration of people getting national identity cards all of a sudden. And remember, quite recently, somebody said that they're going to win elections by 2 to 3 million. You need to ask questions and see the games that people are playing. All of a sudden, there's a need for that when there was a big problem. In that, therein lies the problem. However, young people, if anything can happen, they should hope, and people should hope for a replication of what happened in 2024 in the month of June, because that was galvanized. People were thinking and speaking the same language. People were offering expertise, and everybody putting in their hand on the, we were all engaged, and that's what is needed. And if it is done one more time with the intention that we are changing our country for the better, it's actually doable. But how do we marshal young people to get to that point is really currently the biggest conundrum. It can happen, it is possible, but the formula has to be found. Speaking to young people when they are hungry, speaking to young people who are going to charge you for listening allowance, maybe the hardest beat. But then how do we capture their minds to ensure that they see the bigger picture, not now? They could be hungry today, but if we vote correctly, in a few days, we'll have food in plenty. That's the agenda we need to sell. That's why Eli, me and you, and many other people who do this should be able to give hope and show that it's possible to forfeit the meal today for a better meal tomorrow and many more meals. And maybe that's what Sophie and many other people also need to do. Tell the young people that we can eat tomorrow, even if today we go hungry. Because what we're given today is really out of spite, not because somebody doesn't feel we deserve it. They're throwing it at you like bones are thrown to dogs when there's plenty of food. Even if the dogs go hunting together with you, once you come back, you eat the meat, you throw this, you add some soup and some ugali, and you throw. That's exactly what young people are feeding on, scraps, and that can change if we truly believe that it can happen. And so, the means to get young people to the mood and the mode we found ourselves in 2024. The country was plugged in. Young people, millennials, old people who believe in what the young people were doing. That's where we all need to go back to. Kasongo is a problem, but he's a scheming character. He wouldn't stop at anything to ensure that he goes back to power. Eli, without sounding like I'm preaching, that's the end of my preaching.
Thank you very much. Always, as always, interesting to listen to you. You know, I love the aspect, that story about the dog and the bones and the hunter, because during elections, I've seen a lot of dogs, cheering the hunter. And once the mate is harvested, or rather, once the catch is brought home, the dogs end up with some boiled broth that is not close to broth. And I know my good friend Diamonds, who's tuned in, is actually a victim of that. He helps some people win elections, but then again, malipo ni humu humu tu, tunateseka wote pamoja. I want to bring Sophie, unless we have any other quick questions from the room. I'd love to get some final submissions in terms of the conversation of the night. But quite interesting, Sophie. And I must admit that we didn't really expect that we will be able to even go to the Constitution. But you came prepared, and that's what I love about you. You are a great guest, and you did your homework well. So I'd love to give you the opportunities, Sophie, to speak to the young people today and help us formulate an agenda that we call a Kenyan agenda, a young people oriented agenda. What would that agenda be for you, Sophie, in conclusion?
Well, it should start, like I said, from a point of going back to establishing where we went wrong. And it did not start today. It started from the day the white man left. Injustice and corruption began almost immediately. Land injustice. So many people took land for themselves, and so many families were left outside. So we need to start having conversations. So aside from like, what alternative are we offering? We're offering restorative justice, and that is why we have to go back even to the times of colonial days and establish, hey, there's a certain amount of money that was given by wazungu, ilipeanwa kutoka huko majuu, ndio wale wakenya wenye hawakukuwa wanajiweza kununua mashamba waweze kununua shamba, kununuliwa shamba na government as a loan, wabaki wakilipa gava, but hiyo pesa ilienda kwa mfuko ya certain people. The pieces of land that were supposed to be given to those who had been displaced by the colonial rule could be resettled back into their land. I mean, we have places in Kenya that still have settlements, like venye walikuwa wanaishi time ya mzungu, they still have those same settlements up until today. So we need first of all to go back and establish where the problem started. Secondly, would be to say that as the youth, we are offering an alternative that is discipline, professionalism, intentionality, goodwill. We are offering the discipline to stay in our offices and work for the people and not kuzurura kila break everywhere campaigning for the next election na sahiyo tu ndio tumeshaelektiwa. We are offering professionalism. We will treat the same way we are treating our jobs right now is the same way we will treat this role. We shall be connected to the people. We shall hold barazas, like it has Kivuta Kibwana proved that if you involve the people, a county can grow. If the people, if riches are not specifically meant for a certain select few, but every single person has something, somehow I think that's the only reason why Ruto was able to sell the bottom up agenda. We are believing that we can make it on our own. We do not need saviors. So money should be in our pockets as the citizens. So that is the alternative that we are offering. But it is important to say that the amount of work that went into doing what young people were able to do in June 25th, 2024, rather the entire of June 2024, we need to start as early as now. The finance bill 2026. Right now, the I saw that Mbadi and his team, they're already moving around collecting feedback with regards to finance bill 2026, so that they can give us their propositions next month, this month actually, towards the end of this month. We should know what the finance bill should be looking like, and the budget appropriation papers. We need to see what they're looking like. So we need to replicate exactly what we did in 2024, because it did not just happen in front two. It was not by design, and that notion that people think that it was spontaneous. No, a lot of work went into that. Many people read the finance bill. They translated the finance bill into different languages. They were able to do short form content explaining the contents of that bill to the people. Heck, people like Gathoni wa Mushomba read that bill on our behalf and educated us. You can understand my disappointment with her, because I was kind of depending on her to sort of break down a few of what Parliament will be talking about the next finance bill. So we need then to bring about the same intentionality with Finance Bill 2026. Let us not forget that several acts have been signed. There is the land amendment bill, there is privatization bill, there is government owned enterprise bill. All these have been made into law in Kenya, so we need to study them, we need to explain them to the masses, we need to be ahead of the narrative, win the information war. We need to stop being reactionary, but we need to be the ones who are pushing. Like, we need to be the ones ahead of the game. We should not be the ones reacting to what the oppressor is doing. And most importantly, it is for us to love our country more than the oppressor loves our country. If Ruto loved your country, if this government loved the people of Kenya, Cocoa would not be closing in Kenya today. Several companies will not be closing and leaving this country because the cost of doing business is too high, and the kickbacks that the government is asking from these people who are just trying to change our lives. Like, we need to love our country more than the oppressor. He doesn't love this country. We need to love each other more than the oppressor. At this point in Kenya, we love ourselves more than we love our neighbors. We need to love each other more. Haki iwe ngao na mlinzi. We need to push for the constitution. We need to push for justice. We need not remain silent because an injustice to one is an injustice to all. So when people are being killed by police, na hata haujui huyo mtu, come out and talk about it online and offline. Don't wait until the day it is your family. With this issue we were dealing with this 23-year-old who was called Dek in Thika, I asked his family, did you, with all the stories that you hear on the news, did you ever think one day it would be you? They were like, no. They did not imagine a day would come when they were the ones who are the victims of police brutality. So don't wait until it happens to you. Don't wait until it knocks your doorstep. If we have collective responsibility, all of us, the patriotic duty to rise up and individually fight for our nation, then slowly we will be able to see kidole kimoja hakivunji chawa. If we all work together, we bring all our efforts together, then Kenya will change. And lastly, it's not to lose hope. Kenya can change. Kenya must change. Kenya will change. But it is up to us. When Kenya will change is up to us. We are not supposed to be allowing our neighbors to leave us behind. Rwanda right now and Ethiopia are seemingly the superpowers in our region because us we're becoming a very unfocused nation. No. We need to get serious about understanding that we do not have another country. This is our motherland. Nobody hautakuwa hata ukienda America upate citizenship ya huko, we ni Mkenya. So you have to work towards changing our country. And Eli, talk to watu huko kwa diaspora, wa finance watu huku wa campaign waweze kusimama na kuchukua viti. Seeing Maraga having been raised for 7 million is quite encouraging. Let's have a conversation about our campaign financing and how we will push this narrative more and mobilize at the grassroots level. So if we are intentional, then things are going to change. But if we're not and we're comfortable watching on the sidelines, then soon the injustice that you're so happy being quiet about shall knock at your doorstep.
That is Miss Mugure, and she says if you are nonchalant about everything, sooner than later it will catch up with you. And I do hope tonight we have not just been able to bring a conversation, we have been able to stir a conversation within yourself and your mind so that once we all leave this room, we'll be questioning what can we do better? What can we do different? And Ms. Mugure, thank you very much for joining us on the bigger picture. Indeed, it is the bigger picture every single Monday right here at God FM, courtesy of Mizani 254. And to all of you who joined and made sure we had this conversation, we want to appreciate all of you. Thank you, as always, for making time to be part and parcel of it. And if you think you are the next big thing when it comes to a conversation about this country, we welcome you. You can easily reach us through our website. There are all the contact details on it. You can also use the number on your screen, be able to, quickly put it up so that you're able to follow through. That is +2547143082777 is the number. Just send us a very quick, short message, and we'll be able to, get in contact with you. You can also support our programs by simply going to our support line using the same number. Also on our website, head on to cotfm.co.ke/donate, and you'll be able to get the instruction on how you can be of help, or possibly, should I say, not help, but of a big player when it comes to our support line. You can also consider doing that through the pay bill business number 400-200, account number 872607. Business name is KOTFM Media, or you can simply say COT FM. Ladies and gentlemen, in the bigger picture tonight, it is my pleasure to say we had it, we've listened, but now it is time to actionize the talk. Let's walk the talk. And that's why in the year 2026, our clarion call will be nothing else but what we say, I am 43. And our first poster for I am 43 was actually published this morning. If you go through our socials, you'll be able to see it. And it's a simple one. It tells you, and I'm going to read. Did you know, is the question, did you know that the current Kenyan National Assembly consists of 290 constituency MPs, 47 county women representatives, 12 nominated members, and the Speaker of the National Assembly? Again, did you know that the current Kenyan National Assembly consists of 290 constituency MPs, 47 county women representatives, 12 nominated members, and the Speaker of the National Assembly? In total, we are talking about 350 heads that you're paying your taxes to in order for them to ensure the country Kenya is sane. But then again, where is the value for the vote and the money? 56 minutes after 9 p.m. Thank you very much once again, Sophie, for coming. You can reach out Sophie through her handles, and Sophie, I'll give you the honors to share your titles right now.
I go by Mugure Njehia on all my social media platforms.
Aya, huyu apendi kuongea maneno mingi, amesema tu mtafute Mugure Njehia and you'll be able to reach her. If you have questions, continue streaming them out. The video is actually up on our YouTube. You can be able to read through. Good job for bringing it home. Visuals and graphics well done. That is through Stella that is actually commenting on the YouTube stream. And yes, we are live, audio and video. If you love to have this experience, you know what to do. Follow us. Again, good night. That has been our time right here on the bigger picture. Again, my name is Likian Eli. On behalf of Mizani 254 and everyone else that made this a possibility, we want to thank you and take care until tomorrow. I'll be seeing you on Court FM on the Thirsty Tuesday. Good evening.